just watched Project Hail Mary and I feel it could be one of the best movies of 2026. Now, I haven't read the book, so I can't compare it off that, but as a movie, I believe it achieves everything it needs to be entertaining. And if not more, as I was pleasantly surprised by its humour, emotional depth, and overall storytelling. But I do have to give it to the author for creating such an interesting concept, as the idea of an organism, in this case astrophage, having the ability to absorb the sun's energy and causing it to lose all its light creates for some really high stakes. And I think it's been translated really well in this visual form. But through the power of Reddit, I was able to find out that one of the clearest differences between the book and the movie was its beginning, with many pointing out how quickly in the movie he comes to terms with his situation of being lost in space without any memories. But I personally found this an effective change, as I was immediately intrigued. In fact, as soon as I saw him wiggle out of that space cocoon, I was hooked. And all my plans to have it on in the background as I did stuff went out the window. I also thought it came across more as instinctual than rather him knowing actually what he's doing. Now, somehow I was able to watch this movie without even watching the trailer beforehand. And the only clip I had seen of this movie was this.
Dirty, 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 dirty. Why room so messy?
Well, I wasn't expecting company, was I?
So to say I was not prepared for the emotional whirlwind this movie would put me through would be an understatement, as I most definitely didn't see myself almost crying over the potential death of an alien. But I think that just goes to show how well these characters were portrayed, particularly the alien, aka Rocky, as they were able to portray an incredibly likable character through sheer actions and dialogue, as he doesn't have the typical facial features we humans do to portray ideas and emotions. It's kind of like WALL-E, but on the opposite spectrum. When we first meet Rocky, we obviously can't understand his language, yet we can still understand him through his actions.
This is fine.
Like in this scene, we can see how frustrated Rocky is in trying to communicate with him with this language barrier. And I think the design of Rocky was also very cleverly done, as it's still quite an eerie kind of alien, but just doesn't cross the border into being scary.
You scared me when you went...
Like, I think if they added any eyes, it would lean too heavily into a spider vibe, which would probably make it much harder for the general audience to find him so endearing. But I have to say, he's one of the cutest aliens I have ever seen. Like, I literally love how goofy, funny, and supportive he is as a character. It's so effective, in fact, that when he almost dies trying to save Grace's life, you literally can't help but feel sad. And honestly, if he did die, I would probably never want to watch this movie again. But I also have to give props to Ryan Gosling and his portrayal of Grace, as it's their dynamic that makes the story so compelling. Like, I know he's already a phenomenal actor, but I think he did really well in showing the emotional turmoil of being alone in space, while having great comedic timing as well as likability that really brings Grace's character to life. And I seriously like just how relatable he is as a character.
We make gravity.
Centrifuge?
Centrifuge.
They used them to make butter during the Civil War, actually. It's a fun fact.
Not only do I love that he is eavesdropping on this conversation, but then also feels the need to have a little fun fact about it. And the little head bump at the end is the cherry on top, as we don't see a lot of protagonists that are so socially awkward. And that leads me to my next point. He is such a unique protagonist for a movie who does heroic things, but isn't like the typical hero. He's extremely real in a sense. I think one of my favorite parts was when we found out that he didn't choose to go to space, but was rather forced to, as I feel it stayed very true to what we had seen so far of his character, which was a very smart yet socially awkward, timid character that had no faith in himself to be able to achieve anything or be willing to sacrifice himself to save others.
Commander Yao, I really appreciate what you all are doing.
You would do the same.
I would choose just not to go at all. I don't have the bravery gene that you all have. Trust me.
It's not a gene. You just need to find someone to be brave for.
I love that when posed with the question to be the replacement scientist of the team, he hesitates and is actually unwilling to go.
No.
As most protagonists that we know would then choose to sacrifice themselves for the greater good. This also meant that when he had to choose between returning home or going to save Rocky later in the movie, he is able to grow as a character, because this time he has someone to be brave for. And I have to say, I also quite liked the character of Ava Stratt, who is a government official who is leading the Petrova task force in trying to save the Earth. She's quite a ruthless character that will do whatever means necessary to try and help Earth's survival. Like drugging Grace when he refuses to go on this one-way journey to a sun that isn't dying, in the hope of finding a solution to the astrophage. And although she does morally questionable things, they aren't without reason. She deeply understands the importance of this mission and its consequences if they don't succeed. So it's hard to be mad at her when there's clear logic behind it. There is also a scene where she is singing karaoke, which apparently wasn't in the book, but I found it was very helpful in making her appear still human and not just a cold-hearted person, as it showed her feeling the effects of having to do what she needs to do. And it's crazy to think even a character like this had comedic moments.
That's true, which is why you now live on a boat in the middle of the ocean in Keynes.
I live on the boat.
And this by far is one of the best things about this movie. Its humor. It is freaking hilarious. Now I know everyone's sense of humor is a little different, but I personally absolutely loved it. To the visual comedy and line delivery, Project Hail Mary, if not for some of its more serious moments, it would be a complete comedy. I honestly found myself laughing at the silliest things. I just think it has the perfect comedic timing that keeps it in this more light-hearted tone, which I definitely think it benefits from, as otherwise it would be quite dark, as when you think about it, the story is quite grim. Like everyone on Earth could die, sort of grim. Yet I think it's able to carefully balance this sense of comedicness with its also more serious moments. Like it knows when to be funny and when not to be. Like when Rocky finds out that Grace won't be able to return home.
I know I'm not going home. I know why. And it's okay. Thumbs up?
No.
Tiny thumbs up?
No.
And it's this delicate balance that I think they got so right. But it's not just this, it's also the music that follows it. Not only is the musical score for this movie phenomenal, it's so uniquely distinctive to the point that it's actually addicting. It has such a rhythmic, out of this world kind of feel that fits so well for the story. I honestly don't even know how to describe it, so I'm just gonna let you listen. Like it has such a weirdly therapeutic kind of feel to it. And even when the music shifts to fit the different tones of each scene, it's able to keep this ethereal style. Like there's a scene where both their ships are spinning and it turns into more a ballroom style, which I absolutely loved. But as if that isn't enough, it also is so visually stunning. I am so happy they didn't shy away from using colour. I love, love, love how heavily they leaned into the yellow. To the stars, to Rocky's ship, to the internal design of his ship. It's such an unexpected interpretation of how space would be. Like when you look up into the night sky, you don't exactly see warmth. It's such a unique creative decision that I feel fits so well. Not only does it match the lighthearted tone, but also separates it from so many other space films. And I also love how it's used as an emotional indicator. When Rocky is still recovering from entering his atmosphere, many scenes are more blue, but when he wakes up, there is a flicker of yellow in the background that visually signals that he is okay. But it's not just its use of yellow that makes it so visually compelling. It's how they decided to render all these different visual elements. Like how they portray Rocky's vision, who sees through echolocation. Or when Grace is collecting a sample of the astrophage in the Petrova line and everything turns into a sea of red stars. I swear most of the time they take a scene that's already good and make it even better, which is just so nice to see as we have so many more mediocre movies these days that rather try and go for more bright and vivid look, dull down everything. I mean, even Project Hail Mary's cinematography is just so good. I loved how in the beginning of the movie, most of the spaceship's doors and windows were used to frame Grace, which helped add to the sense of confusion as well as sense of solitude he would be feeling waking up all alone in space. I also particularly liked how they showed the fear of walking on top of a spaceship with only one line to keep you from drifting off, by relating it to the sense of almost falling off a cliff. It was a clever way of making something feel more real by relating it to something we can actually realistically imagine. Thereby, we can also feel scared with him. This movie really did just do a great job at making you feel all the emotions. And although the ending may have felt a little rushed for those who read the book, I personally found it wrapped up really well. And if any longer, I feel it would have borderlined on being too long. Anyway, there really is so much to like about this movie, and if you haven't watched it already, you really should. But for those who have watched Project Hail Mary, what did you like? What did you not like about the movie? Let me know.